It's September 13th, 2022. Um, just an update from the field I'm in. I walked out yesterday and it was raining. And when a woman goes to the hair salon to get her hair colored, when they put tin foil on the hair and they try to highlight it, there's some process that they use. I don't think it's called a bleach. It's some form of ammonia, I believe, is the word that they use. Again, I don't read the bottles. I don't know the industry, but it's what I've heard sitting in the chair as a witness and going through this as an experience. Um, so when I walked out the front door yesterday with my son to go to school, um, the air in the front of the residence and halfway down the block had such a smell. My son noticed it as well. It was not just myself. Of this, it smelled like being in the hair salon. When I mean, not always because, and over the years it's gotten better. But I've been to the hair salon where it actually like starts to burn your eyes, and it's so strong. But I guess depending on the salon, they change the products. They've made it so it's less whatever. It hasn't happened in a while, but happened once and it made an impression. So that's the only parallel I have to speak of this, the amount of noxious fume I smelt yesterday. Um, it's not the first time in the area that I've smelt a noxious fume. I've walked down the street before and it smelled almost like a sulfur dioxide, like a rotten egg. But but and I hate when they use that term because to me it doesn't really smell like rotten eggs, but it's what a place when I that I can't explain that I've been in whatever. It's how they referred to it. Um Now I've called the fire department several times, not knowing what to really say to them except to explain the situation. I went to school here, I went to school out in Long Island, and in all of the education that I've gotten, I cannot remember ever being taught how to interact with emergency management and first responders. Not ever. I know for my sons, there was a coloring book. There was a coloring book that just said that they were there to help the children and that they were to be seen as a hand almost to hold and in partnership with the public. It's how they wanted their image consultants wanted the children to believe they functioned as some front operation. Who am I? Just mentioning what their image consultants are portraying to the public, whether it exists or not, I'm not quite sure. Um, so when this, I didn't even know who to call. Do you call the police with this? Because it's emanating out of a grate system that, grate being GRATE, um, in the roadways, almost like a gas chamber of sorts, but an open aired gas system. But as you walk past it, it's concentrated enough that you're like, whoa. Now, neurotoxins being what they are, I not having any, I guess, I like not being consciously aware of them or whatever. However, I called the fire department, asked them to test for these things. They said that they would dispatch somebody. I left to go meet them the first time, and by the time I even got halfway down my block, they were already passing, the fire department had already, like, and then I stood there and nobody showed up. I made document of it. Then one time after I made a YouTube message, I called again, and this time they actually dispersed and asked to meet me at the corner. And then they had a machine that made sounds, which they said had a positive result. Whatever that means in their metric system, I don't know. They made it seem like it was no big deal, but there was some kind of whatever. I don't even know the word for it. I documented it after my experience with them. Um, and then, I mean, I've smelt it again several times, but it's it's almost like, how active do you become in reporting this stuff? Is it important? I mean, they don't make it sound important. They kind of, it seems like they almost brush it off. Now, is that just my area of the city where they're trying to poison me, or is that the whole city? I mean, again, it gets really confusing with gerrymandering or gerrymandarin and whatever else between a 9 and an 11 and some IHS, International House of Service, and some DHS, the department that's supposed to handle the servicemen and public safety. And how do we fit in? Still, I really, really would like to know where a respectable man is in the world with an arm that I can hold to steady myself in this balancing act, since New York has not come of age in an appropriate anything. It seems like they're trying to count down my biological clock and force me into these really dangerous biological situations. And somewhere in the world, I know there's got to be at least one man that cares. And I'm assuming it's the man that they kept me from. So I'm watching 9/11. They're showing 21 years ago. We just passed the anniversary. Today's September 13th, 2022. And I know I'm not crazy because they show that the day of the towers, somebody called in Manhattan, one of the FDNY crews of firemen, to show up with the same machine that they showed up when I called, after I called several times. I mean, I don't understand this. If it's really neurotoxins and biological chemical warfare that they know about, and the public, they keep quiet from the public, and the public is calling saying that there seems to be this strange smell, and they know it's their job function, I really don't get where they are hard to contact to show up. And then when they show up, it's like almost an imposition. I mean, were they friendly enough? I suppose they put on a show for me. But do I really feel that they really care? No. It's like everything else in New York. It seems fake, false, and it's like everybody's on some suicide pact or some suicide mission, and I have no idea why. But it's disgusting to have to, like, die around, because it's like every day I wake up, I feel like I'm one day closer to death between whatever this is now came back and broke out. I have a feeling it has something to do hepatically with the liver. I have no idea why. But again, with these fumes that going in and out in this area, and no real serious partner in humanity that actually gives a damn or is actually able to accomplish something other than making the public more sick, it's really frustrating. So this is how I found out I wasn't crazy about, no, they really do this for a living, even though they make it seem like they don't, and it's some kind of inconvenience when you call. Here's how.
In the neighborhoods of New York, there are 217 firehouses. Each holds a memorial to firefighters who answered the call 21 years ago and never returned.
Now, for me, I see 9 and I see the 11. I don't know, is that in Lilibet? That's something my grandfather used to say. Just a Lilibet. A Lilibet. Je ne sais pas non so. But it was important to him. Just like Linda used to say, and not often, but when she would get frustrated that something wasn't working, she would come out and say, it's like the changing of the guards. I'm just at a loss for words. And she didn't say it often. She reserved it for when she was really frustrated and didn't know where to turn. But again, I have a different whatever where everything with me was a lily. A lily bit. A lily bit. And no pistole. And it was the beautiful sweaters and a lily bit. And I know somewhere in the world that makes all the world a difference, and somebody knows exactly what I'm talking about.
As we first told you last September, 343 members of the fire department of the city of New York perished on 9/11 in the greatest act of gallantry ever bestowed on an American city. This is their story.
Gallantry is an interesting word. At galvanized. After somebody attempted to, I don't know, like I heard on House of Dragons when, the princess was not supposed to ever have anybody question, not have spies follow her, not be forced into a situation that might, what the word that they used was sully. I had never heard that before. And yet, that's exactly what happened. One lied about it, one told the truth about it, and now I don't know what happens after that, but I would imagine they looked differently upon her, although it's yet to be how that's going to play out on the streaming version of House of Dragons, not quite sure. But again, they always say in like the great wars from before, at the great beyond, like the Helen with Troy and Sparta, and all of these other, then there's Hela and Ragnarok, the end of times, which again, they don't speak of here either, but I have heard the humans use the word that behind every great war is a woman. Woman scorned, I don't know. Is that a woman sullied and taken from the respectable person that she belonged to? I'm not quite sure. I would have thought that it would have been of utmost importance to make sure that it would have never even come into question, but here we are. That's what the television is advising at the moment.
This plane raced past us along the Hudson River at such a low altitude, I could read American on the fuselage.
At 8:46 that
I've already seen the 9/11 story, the 9/11 memorials. I did not go. I've been carved up in my own bed after um, other situations happen here for reasons I can't explain. Um, so for me, they're coming through with this is what showed up the day that I reported it. The Great, Grate, did not look like this. It was a different metallurgy. But this machine, whatever that does, whatever that means, whatever result or metric they're looking for, was there on 9/11 in the old New Amsterdam, the new Manhattan. And so he was checking the great GRATE for signs of whatever in this area of Queens. When I reported it, Bayside, they came with the same machine, but it took several attempts before they would even acknowledge my report. And then, of course, Lewis and Lyndon made it like I was crazy, like I was smelling things. I'm like, no, they actually showed up, and the machine went off, showing that there's a sign of something. What it is, I don't know. Who they contact, again, these are the professionals. In order for like me not to get like neurotoxins in like a breathable like respiration interfering with other biological processes, causing more biotoxins and the degradation of my human anatomy and physiology, I expect the professionals to protect myself in the public, since I'm here on whatever it is that is keeping me here. I don't think poisoning me is such a great idea after I've already been carved up like gills. It looked like fish gills. And they were like that. It looked that deep. When I couldn't sit, I couldn't lay down, and it was hard to stand up and hold a child. None of this was like no provocation on my part for Jason to follow me around to keep, even though I said I'm not interested. I can't tell you how many telecommunication lines this person called, and I'm like, I'm not interested. I have a boyfriend from somewhere else. I am same person I was waiting for the night that I met you. I am not interested. Stop calling me. And kept calling me. In fact, the most disgusting part is after that Derek Jeter and like Mr. November for the November rain invited me out for ice cream. But the connection is now 44 years in the future for disgusting at looking back to what is the problem. There's several layers. Where do you want me to begin? Now, there's a movie star, one of my favorites. And again, like, I don't want to get in trouble with what they're all married to. I don't follow your personal lives. I don't want to know about your personal lives. I don't want to know what's on the other end of whatever. There's a few. There is so few actors my age that I would actually turn the television on for and enjoy a movie because they seem on the screen, innocently enough, like they might be good people in real life. I can't confirm that because I'm not into I don't follow Entertainment Today. I don't follow The Inquirer. I don't follow the circus of morons and how they make themselves feel important. I'm a celestial body. I know I have importance with some quiet, serious, whatever, that I should be doing one thing, but I'm being held in a completely different manner from which I expected since youth. And so there's one actor that came out that looks familiar to me. I've seen him several times, and I actually enjoy his on-screen work because the characters seem American, but in a tolerable way. Some of the American actors I don't like. Like, I won't even watch their works. I don't learn their names. I don't watch their works. Their faces don't look like but Ryan Reynolds looks like, for me, something that is whatever. And so he was in this movie called Free Guy. They did the sunglasses bit where the people with the sunglasses are totally different. I appreciated that. There was some significance in that. I pointed it out, how it was significant to me anyway, for some form of, I don't know any of you, like in real serious, like I don't know any of you. I just see whatever you're a part of in a larger communication project with a much more serious purpose, even though it might not seem relevant on the front, but whatever. So I guess again between the S and the C and that index of lexicon, um, of importance for some reason. Um, this episode is E182. Now, when I had to go to the hospital in a real serious situation, it was real. It wasn't like and I didn't have cameras rolling like that. I had my own personal journal just recently with what was the life sustaining bag. How did it read? And it was NEG. Just so IHS and IHOP are fully aware at the, I suppose you say Kingsguard Beyond, but even that gets into a whatever, and whatever. The Great Beyond is what I call it. So this way it's not territorial necessarily. And so um, Ryan Reynolds came out and he did a colonoscopy, which is a procedure. The one that I did was because the anemia had gotten so bad and such a drastic drop in such a short amount of time with no bleeding, I mean, it's just, but it's being kept in this state of altered health for such a long time now. And none of the local people in the hospitals seem to be actively helping or at a place with, I mean, I'm now at a hematologist oncologist. I'm hoping she'll come up with answers, but even that, like, um, so Ryan Reynolds, and then there's this other guy. I don't know who the other guy is. He's, I guess, a kind of, sort of, but not really doppelganger in the sense of they kind of, sort of look similar. I mean, I really don't think so when you put them side by side, but like again, I know one from the movies, or from Free Guy at least, the most recent movie. Owen Adams something or other. But I don't know this other guy. I don't know where he's from. I don't know what he's into. I don't know if he's an actor. Again, no clue. And he doesn't look familiar because I haven't seen him repeatedly. Um, but they both went in for colonoscopies together to raise awareness of the procedure, I suppose, especially in our age group, now, in our fourth decade here. Um, so
First on CBS Mornings, Ryan Reynolds is making a very personal milestone public and asking you to follow his example.
Rob and I both, we turned 45 this year, and part of being this age is getting a colonoscopy. It's a simple step that could literally, and I mean literally, save your life.
Reynolds and fellow actor Rob McElhenney allowed video cameras to record their colonoscopies. The co-owners of the Wrexham Soccer Club in Wales want to raise awareness about the rising rates of colon cancer in people younger than 50. Ryan Reynolds went first, arriving bright and early to his appointment with our favorite gastroenterologist, Dr. John Lapook.
I would never normally have any medical procedure put on camera and then shared.
I would totally agree, except for national security, whatever, since there's been some compromise or some kind of problem repeatedly in this New York area, and I don't know who's at fault, who's to blame, or why I can't seem to get whatever in whatever. So that's why, in order to help the nationally secure of our kind, insane woodland and lake town people, I documented the life sustaining efforts of there was somebody somewhere around the Port Washington area and in the St. Francis Catholic health system that shared the same bloodline as myself and was kind enough to donate NEG for my purpose, even though there is a tremendous population of POS that I'm surrounded by a good amount of the time, which serves no purpose if I'm in an emergency situation, which I know is an argument that seems to get heated and sometimes argued over for the wrong reasons or mistaken. And some of us can't sequence bloodlines in like some cross hybrid. I've heard like in other, like in fruits and vegetables, they say, oh, well, it's a hybridization and then it's like a different whatever. It doesn't make you stronger. It just doesn't. It serves no purpose for me. It's actually the opposite. It causes massive coagulation and then a whole nother systemic problem that leads usually to death.
It's not every day that you can raise awareness about something that will most definitely save lives. Going in. That's enough motivation for me to let you in on a camera being shoved up my.
Ryan, it's the first time you've had a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
And
Filming it.
you're filming it,
Which
which
like also just
it's
awful.
the procedure itself doesn't take long. We talk, 30 minutes, something like that. It's stunningly effective.
I'm gonna eat a graham cracker.
You did such a good prep that I was able to find an extremely subtle polyp that was on the right side of your colon. This was potentially life-saving for you. I'm not kidding. I'm not being overly dramatic. I mean,
love it.
this is exactly why you do this, okay? You had no symptoms.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled for you.
Thank you so much for this. Seriously, thank you for pushing me to do this.
This is the polyp. I just cut it off with a snare, and it's gone. You are interrupting the natural history of a disease, of something, of a process that could have ended up, developing into cancer and causing all sorts of problems. Instead, you're not only diagnosing the polyp, you're taking it out.
I figure I can't go wrong in terms of comparing myself to Ryan. They either find nothing, and that means my colon was cleaner than his, or they find a polyp, all set, and it's either bigger than his, which is awesome, or it's smaller than his, which means I had less of an opportunity to have cancer. Either way, I win.
Hi, you're all done. You're in recovery now. So easy. Good. How do you feel?
I feel great.
Good.
Today we found 3 polyps. They were small. They were not a big deal, but certainly a good thing that we found them early and removed them.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'll see you in a couple of years.
Dr. John Lapook joins us right now. Good morning.
Morning,
So how did all of this come about?
Ryan came to me. I'm very protective of my patients' privacy, but he reached the age of screening, which is now 45.
It used to be
It
50.
used to be 50, and it dropped down. And
Why? Why did it drop?
it dropped down because we're seeing colon cancer in younger people for reasons that are not clear. But he wanted to raise awareness, and so he said, let's do this PSA.
So his idea, not your idea.
Not my idea.
But you went in there, you did your job, you found what you described as a subtle polyp.
Yeah.
Is that typical? And also, Rob had a polyp as well, right?
I know each one of them had a polyp, which potentially it had the potential to over time turn into cancer.
Yikes.
Totally benign right now,
Yeah.
giving no symptoms. You find it, you pluck it out, and instead of potentially getting cancer, you don't get cancer.
Wow. Tony and I are the exact same age, and I could tell when you were watching that, you were thinking what I was thinking. It's going to be us soon. So I know the age is 45. Is there any other signs that someone should go in sooner?
Absolutely.
Because you guys are both 41.
We're 41. I've got some time to prepare. I'll watch that video a few times, get used to it.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, Nate, because these recommendations now down to 45 are for people at average risk, right? If you have symptoms, if you have a change in your stool, and you have to get specific, if you notice bleeding, if you notice narrowing in the stool, you have abdominal pain, if you've been told of iron deficiency anemia and you're tired because of that, it could be because of invisible blood loss from a polyp or an early cancer that you don't even know about. If you have symptoms, go to your healthcare provider and get it evaluated.
Well, I know you are.
See, that's like the public health, like television, if you're watching it, which normally I don't, but I am at the moment because I'm monitoring it for other reasons. Learning really at this point how these humans are interacting in this area and what vocabulary they're using and a bunch of other patterns I'm looking for. But so I'm watching this and at the table, it just seems like it's just like everybody talks about this stuff. And like, you go to this doctor. I mean, like, everyone's like, yeah, you go to the doctor and you'll figure they're the magic. Like, they'll figure it. I mean, how many years have I gone with anemia? And I mean, there's not even like a, hey, you should check this out. You should try this out. You should try this out. It's almost like, oh, good. You're on your way, like 1 foot in the grave. Why should we even bother? Like, I mean, it's like television. And are there a group of good people out there? I'm sure. How many of them are there? I couldn't tell you from my experience. And I've tried several different venues. It's like, now is it like a personal thing just against my person that they're not taking a more aggressive stance to try to actually solve my health issue? I'm not sure. I don't know. Is it just that they are so blatantly ignorant? I have no idea. I said to Lewis this morning, Lewis is like, he's like, I really feel like my health, I'm going to look into homeopathic stuff and this other whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because he's got this like mucal phlegm, whatever going on in excess production and he can't figure it out. And he's on a whole bunch of different pills. And I was like, you know, Lou, here's the thing. I was like, there's this, if I had $1 every day that you woke up to give you a placebo, I'd be like one of the richest people in the world. But of course, then saving oneself behind some veil and then trying to say that you do good for the betterment of people and how does this really work out? I'm seeing where they're spending the money that they're giving back for taking this with this placebo thing with the good intentions. It's really being mismanaged and it's left so much room for fraud. It just has. And it's so abusive in its systemic, how they're running things. I was like, you know, I said, they gave me thyroid medicine at 16. I have no idea why. I stopped taking it, but I was taking it for so long. The insurance company paid for it. I mean, and then, so who got really rich off of that? I have no idea. And what were they funding? And so I said to him, I said, and it might not just be your medication. It's a combination of the medications you're taking that's keeping your biochemistry off or deteriorating your kidney function and your liver function, which is like your filtering system. So you're actually like ruining your own natural defenses over time. I was like, then there's the whole, there used to be trees outside that looked like they were public health conscious and they didn't throw the body into this altered state of pollen that's harmful for the body, whether it's biotoxin of some sort causing a reaction. But now they've taken out those good trees and replaced them with these pollinogenic substance that goes through the air, and it causes an immunoresponse, which is it's a compounding issue. So now you got food that's not safe to eat or drink because it's not doing anything for the health. Not knowing how to balance that out in alchemy or in some form of elixir, botanical potion, whatever. Like, if do I need more salt? Do I need more calcium? Do I need less of either? Do I need more potassium? Like, I mean, how to balance it out, not only on the inside, but on the exterior of the body in order to make sure that it's polarized properly and drawing toxins out and not doing the opposite and holding toxins in. I was like, and then he looked at me, he's like, you really just overthink this. He's like, I really just gonna go homeopathic and speak to the doctor. And I'm like, right, yeah, no, I get that. Now I've had a lot of time to think about this. I was like, there's so many compounding factors, being environmental, being the trees and the pollination and the invoking of immune response. But someone in the city knew that when they planted the trees. I just don't know who. Same as the toxins coming from the grates in the floor that when I walk by, I mean, and now my quadriceps and connective tissue to my patella has been weakened so much, I can't even get from a seated on the floor to a standing up position without about 3 other alternatives in order to help my body pull my weight up. I mean, it's a deterioration on that length and that level of seriousness, which is a major problem. This morning, I was supposed to go to physical therapy, and whatever happened, I walked my son to school. I looked on the calendar. I saw one time, which I thought was 9:20. Linda said, no, it's 9:40. I then looked at the calendar, but on the wrong day. Turned out it was 10:20. And then I just sat around waiting for 9:20 to hit so I could go for 10:20. And then as I get in the car, I get a call from the lab. I'm so foggy today, in particular today. No idea why. I don't know if it's the air. I don't know if it's the water. I don't know if it's the protein shakes which are gluten-free. It says gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, whatever. And I have 3 different ones that I try to rotate in the day so I'm not overtaxed by any one property of powder. And it's just, I'm foggy. My clarity is no longer there. And I don't know which part of this process, I mean, of national security, almost in some really dangerous position. Why is it failing keeping me safe at national secure? I mean, I'm willing to help and participate in like working with a larger area team. I don't know what they call themselves. I don't know who they are. I mean, are they the astronauts? NYPD 3802? I'm just curious. Or is it something different? Now that I've got 22s in my shoes, in some alternate fashion, calls me, haven't heard from him. I've been missing him completely. One of my fantastic 4, and then tells me he's been working at the US Open. I'm like, no, that's interesting. I don't even know if he knows. I mean, like, I don't know the rules of tennis, and I've never even put it. I mean, football, baseball's been on the television in his father's home, but not in my house ever. Tennis, well, football, yes, baseball, whatever. He used to watch it, but tennis never. So I thought that was interesting. I'm like looking all grown up. Here's the
It's
end of
great
this.
because I'm one of your patients. I've been to Dr. Lapook several times, and he told me that I have a long and winding colon.
Yes.
Yeah, just sit with that for a second.
Is that unusual?
Yes. How is Ryan's colon?
It was perfect. And I tell you,
Looks great on screen.
on a serious note, you know,
Yeah.
we talk about that prep, and I know people don't love
I
prep.
hate the prep.
Well,
Is there nothing else to do?
There are
It's
different.
so important to do it.
There are different types of prep. I know people are scared of it. You can have now a combination of having fluid and pills. You'll figure out a way to clean it out. But the bottom line is that because they both did such a good job, you're able to see these subtle polyps. And
And now my whole thing is that I feel that part of the problem, the doctors, some of the doctors are they're almost over flooded in specialty and in pushing or promoting one drug company as opposed to the other. There's been a large influx of doctors that don't belong in this American medical system, but they're here for whatever reasons, whether they somehow got into the college board. Now, is that part of the militarized problem that's also systemically and quietly growing in girth and length in this time dilation where things aren't getting better, they're getting worse? How are they growing in these quiet industrious places, and how are they integrating themselves into the real fields and now causing even larger problems with trying to grow their practices, which I don't know who extended them an invitation to practice. Really, I don't.
normally you think about
And then you have these things where, no, you're in a dangerous area between the water, the food, and the pollutants. There are some things like screenings and protective measures that one needs. But now, how does one find a doctor that's nationally secure and actually cares about your personal health? Like, is there a website for that? Because I'm pretty sure when I go on the website for the insurance company I have, they just throw a whole lot of multinational representatives in there. And it seems like it actually is counterintuitive to my health, safety, well-being, and being nationally secure. Normally would have like same blood kindred and whatever of saving our kind for having enough team members on the field to consider being a team.
polyp up on a stalk, and it's easy. How can you miss it? But now we're realizing there are more and more flat polyps, very subtle. And when you do a good job, as Ryan did, it was perfect job. I was able to find it.
And we should also say, John, that it really is nothing to be afraid of.
No.
Because it really is a piece of cake. I know the imagery is what freaks people out. But if you do the prep and that's just drinking the stuff that makes you clean out everything, you really are out. You feel nothing. You honestly feel nothing.
Yeah, and
It's not something that should scare people.
It shouldn't. We have to raise awareness.
Yes.
And there is a myth that about men and women. Women and men get colon cancer just about equally.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it could be life-saving.
Yes, it could be life-saving. 3.5 years and counting, 4 years.
Yeah,
We're there.
See you
going
soon.
together.
We're going together.
We'll bring the cameras.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
All right.
It'll be your idea, not
My
mine.
polyp will be bigger.
Oh, man. Dr. John Lapook, thank you. We appreciate you. To see the entire Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhaney video, visit our CBS Mornings Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram pages. Also visit leadfrombehind.com or leadfrombehind.org, for more information.
And thanks to Ryan and Rob for doing
Yeah, that was great.
That's
That's
huge.
right.
Because I know he's a big personality, but he and Blake Lively are very private in their lives. Yeah.
I think it was a big deal for him to do this.
That's right. Coming up, we'll have the stories that you'll be talking about today. But first, it is 7.
I'm having one of those memory blanks at the moment, which is really frightening with the clarity. I mean, again, it's this cortex to cerebral and then an interface at the moment that I'm having trouble with. There was something later in this episode that seemed important with Rosie O'Donnell. I'm going to pause this and cue that up. That's what it is. She said that I don't know much of Rosie O'Donnell. I only know I had a conversation with Linda this morning. I remember her back in the day seeing one small spot where she was doing a craft with two of her children. That's all I remember about her, and she just seemed in that moment to have a nice rapport with her children. So I'm watching, and she said that she had her children in public school, and then they went to something called a Waldorf. I had never heard this word ever used in this manner, where they don't have, like, they don't watch television whatsoever. Never even heard of that. And she said something else about it, which I'll put on. And then I'm thinking, the only time I've ever heard of Waldorf is that's where Lewis, that's like his high school prom with Linda, was at the Waldorf Astoria in Queens. And now I'm looking for symbolic tie-in. My mom said my father went to a very prestigious educational whatever. She just recently said this morning, and because they don't talk about themselves, not when they were younger. I mean, there's no, like, they have no history according to them. They don't talk about it. And so I thought that was really interesting. I was like,
When you said I'm 60, I went, Rosie, when did that happen? So it's 60, you're a TikTok star, you're on TikTok.
How did that happen?
Yes. How'd that happen?
My 19-year-old daughter for 3 years was like, Mom, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. And I was like, I thought it was dancing, that you had to do the hip dances.
Yeah.
So she showed me, and then I sort of got addicted.
And people love you.
It's fun, you just get to be yourself, and like, hi, I'm really bored, or can you believe the Queen died? And
Right,
you could just say whatever.
Can you believe the Queen died? Have you been following all the coverage?
I think she was an amazing woman and dedicated her whole life to the country, and I have nothing but respect for her. But I have some British friends who called me and said, we really weren't prepared. We weren't prepared. I'm like, you weren't prepared? She was 96. What did you expect? To have a 200-year-old queen? And imagine this life. You have this amazing life.
Yeah.
Then you see the new prime minister in,
Yeah.
and you die and you sleep 2 days later.
Yeah.
It's like, check, please. Could I take that?
I did think it was sort of a beautiful way to go. If you're going to go at 96, and you're in the place that you love. But Rosie, we've been playing clips from your talk show from back in the day.
Yeah.
When you look at that, what do you think? I love the show so much. I was a watcher every single day. You seem to have so much fun. When you look back on those days, what do you think, and do you miss it as you sit here today?
I didn't really miss it because there was some level of authenticity that you need in order to have it be real. And by the time I was done, I had all these children that I wanted to raise and be at their Little League games and do all of that as more of a normal type mother rather than the celebrity mother who it's a big deal when I show up at school. And I gave that to my kids, and I knew I was going to do that because my mom died at 39. And when I took when I took the job, I said, I'm going to do 6 years and I'm out. And no one believed me. They were all like, no, you're not. It's a lot of money. You're going to stay. I'm like, actually, I have a lot of money. And I'm going to go. They were like, why?
And you did.
And I did.
And are you still crafting?
I'm crafting all the time.
Yeah, you were always a big crafter.
I love it. My mother did that too. She did like scrapbooks, and she redid furniture from the flea market. And so I think that's in my genes.
You still were the celebrity mom at school, though, were you not? I mean, you show up, it's still Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah,
but my kids went to Waldorf schools where you're not allowed to watch television. So the difference between the first year when I picked them up at the public school to the second year when I went to the Waldorf program was night and day. It was like for me going to Europe where my show never played.
Yeah.
I could go to Europe and no one knew me. I was walking around. It was the greatest thing, know. And I have that now at 60 with this new haircut.
Well, Rosie, I say this with all respect, not to age you. You have been doing this for decades. You have been entertaining the masses at a high level. You're one of the most versatile in the business. Thank you so much for everything you have contributed.
Thank you.
Rosie
That's so
O'Donnell,
sweet.
you're the best. And you can watch.
So that was an interesting concept, being Waldorf. And on that note, this morning, they had on a piece of the Edinburgh and the Scotland funeral. And for my entire life, I thought Queen Elizabeth only had one child. I only knew that there was a child by the name of Charles. I never heard that there was any other child. Again, I didn't really watch TV, but it wasn't spoken of in my house either. Apparently, there was something that went on with one of the children. They've made very light mention of it just recently. I had no idea. And then I found out that there was 3 children. This morning I find out there was 4. These are all new facts. I have no idea. But it's just very interesting because, like she says, going to Europe, I mean, even the American, like the sports stars and the whatever that have come to visit or in some form, they know who they are. I have no idea who they are. They give me a name. I go with that name because I take them at face value. And then, but I don't know how to react to them. I don't know if they're expecting a reaction. I mean, and again, like I don't follow their careers and I also don't follow their personal lives. So it's a little difficult. It is like meeting strangers everywhere I go because I don't know what happened in the unbeknownst part of what led to here. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.